The federal sex crime probe involving Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz is in what looks to be a pivotal period. Gaetz investigated by the feds for possible sex trafficking and possible sex with a minor. He denies all allegations and has not been charged with any crime. Gaetz' indicted ally, Joel Greenberg, has until this Saturday to strike a plea deal with prosecutors. If that's familiar to you, we have reported on that from the inception, that this week is important legally. Greenberg faces 33 federal charges. The official deadline, May 15th. Now, a deal could come before that time. It would mean potentially new complications for Gaetz, depending on the evidence at Greenberg's disposal. Now, the Daily Beast has reported on this alleged confession letter that Greenberg wrote, which said, allegedly, quote, Gaetz paid for sex with multiple women, as well as a girl who was 17 at the time, end quote. As we mention every time we cite this story, NBC News has not been able to obtain or verify that letter. Now, as the clock ticks, Gaetz has been speaking out in public, and he went to this big and controversial Florida rally with QAnon Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I'm a marked man in Congress. I'm a canceled man in some corners of the internet. I might be a wanted man by the deep state, but I am a Florida man, and it is good to be home. We will not wave the flag of surrender in the face of the Democrats, the socialists, the deep state. Deep state is real.
From a canceled man to a wanted man, that's how Gaetz puts it. We're joined by Dave Ehrenberg, Florida State Attorney for Palm Beach County. Sir, you say this week is important. Why?
Well, good evening, Ari. It is important because May 15th is the deadline for federal prosecutors to reach a plea deal with Joel Greenberg. And we'll know, I think, shortly thereafter, whether or not the feds intend to charge Matt Gaetz with child sex trafficking. That's the big whammy here, punishable by up to life in prison. They need Joel Greenberg to be the key witness to be able to charge Matt Gaetz, in my mind, with child sex trafficking. And if they don't reach a deal with Joel Greenberg, because after all, Joel Greenberg has no credibility, his words mean nothing. He's got to have corroboration or else there will be no deal. If they don't reach a deal with him, it doesn't mean they're not going to charge Gaetz. It just means it's less likely they'll charge him with child sex trafficking. They could, depending on the evidence, charge Gaetz with other crimes like campaign finance violations or aggravated identity theft. That's one of the charges that Greenberg himself is facing. But we'll see pretty soon. And you'll know based on the deal that Greenberg gets, because Greenberg wants a deal in the worst way. I think that he's the one who leaked that alleged confession because he wanted to pressure federal prosecutors to come a better deal than the one that perhaps is currently on the table.
All very interesting. We just showed Gaetz there. And again, he's denied all this. He also seems to be downright, I want to say, disdainful. He seems confident, but that, like any performer or politician, could be an act. But take a look at him joking around about some of this.
So today is my birthday. And I already know how CNN's going to report it. Matt Gaetz has wild parties surrounded by beautiful women in the villages. So just get ready for it.
Does he look to you like someone who is bracing to be charged this week or bracing for a victory lap?
I think he's just following the Trump playbook. It's just leaning in to the us versus them mentality. Let's blame the deep state, blame the swamp, blame everyone else for your problems. And he's on stage with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, keep in mind where he was in the villages is not in Matt Gaetz's district. It's certainly not in Marjorie Taylor Greene's district. That was the worst revival tour ever. I'd rather be forced to watch Nickelback in concert and have Photograph played on a loop than be forced to endure that. But that's what plays in MAGA world. The problem, though, for Matt Gaetz is what plays in the court of public opinion isn't necessarily what's going to work in a court of law. They're not going to allow any of this extraneous stuff in. And it is telling that when he hired lawyers who used to work for said deep state, former prosecutors from DOJ. It shows you when MAGA people are in trouble, they tell the world one thing and they tell judges something else.
You make a great legal point that he didn't go out and just get independent people. He got people who work for the exact DOJ that he claims to be at war with because they do have the experience. On the musical front, Dave, you said something that could really offend Nickelback fans. On the other hand, there are none. So you're probably in the clear.
Hey, I'm a fan of Canadian music, Ari. I've seen Rush 31 times. It's just that Nickelback doesn't deserve to be in the same conversation as the Holy Trinity.
A lot of great music out of Canada. Dave Ehrenberg, as always, thank you for the legal expertise. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.